Good morning, everyone. We've got 1 minute before 11 o'clock, and then we're going to get started because we have a very full session that we want to present to you. So in 1 minute. It is 11 o'clock on the dot, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'd like to welcome everyone to this workshop called Employer-Led Sector Partnerships. A couple of housekeeping items that I do want to share with you. Initially, this was going to be a two-part session, but because we had so many great applicants for this, we were asked to combine it. So we do have quite a few speakers up here that are going to talk to you today. If we do not have time for Q&A, I want to let you all know in the Whova app under this particular session, you can ask any questions, and I promise you we will respond to every question that is admitted there. But we're hoping we will have a little bit of time, okay? So when you look at the first piece of this presentation up here, you see a little puzzle piece, and that's because all of you play a significant role in creating employer-led partnerships. So it's very, we can't do this alone, and our workforce is changing. It's not the workforce of the same. So what we really need to think about is how can we do things differently? How can we have better results, and how can we better serve our employers? So I would like to go ahead at this time and present the many presenters that we have up here. I'd like to start by introducing 4 Talent Pipeline Management Fellows. And I had a question on there today. What is a fellow? And a fellow is a person that has gone through the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Talent Pipeline Management Academy. They have served as mentors, expert specialists. They are there who can go out and help you develop your own sector partnerships. So again, my name is Kim Kuchenbrod. I am a TPM fellow and faculty member contracted by Northern Illinois University and DCEO, kind of overseeing the TPM initiative for the state of Illinois. I also have Tanya Cody Robinson. Tanya, raise your hand. She is a TPM fellow. She's a business relations specialist with the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership. I have Patricia Moore with us. She is also a TPM fellow, business relations specialist, and also works with the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership. And then we have Cindy Lehman, TPM fellow, assistant program coordinator, St. Clair County Workforce Development Group. But I also have another group of specialists here with me today, and these individuals are also talent supply chain management credentialed. They have gone through a TPM academy, and this is the group that are really the boots on the ground. They are actively engaged in a sector partnership in the Effingham region. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Courtney Yockey, the president and CEO of the Effingham Regional Growth Alliance. He is leading this group in the Effingham area. I have Michael Baker. He's a TPM faculty and member. He just recently retired from DCEO, and now he's contracted with Northern Illinois University and still leading the charge in Talent Pipeline. We have Cindy Myers, the Workforce Development Director for the CEFS Economic Opportunity Corporation in that area. And we have Dawn Bennett, Business Service and Apprenticeship Lead Coordinator for LWIA 23 with the same organization as Cindy Meyer. So this is the group that's going to be leading these discussions today. So I want to share with you a little metaphor. And before, I want to kind of set the scene for it. On this, can you imagine getting on an escalator and you're riding that escalator and it stops? Think of what you are doing in workforce development. Are you trying to raise the bar going up the escalator and driving change, but are you doing it just to complete action activities, or are you driving change for the employers that you're working with? So give me a second to start this, because you always with technology, you hope and pray it works when you turn on the video. But it's a little humorous video that I want to share with you. Sorry, it's not working. How do I get it to go? We'll let our techie person come up and take care of this. We've been working on it. I'll let you get it going. There we go. Thank you. I'm sorry. Nope, it's not working again. I'm sorry. We've tested this multiple times before you all worked in here because I was afraid this was going to happen with it. So
we jinxed ourselves.
We jinxed ourselves by practicing with it. There we go. Thank you. Here we go.
Whoa, that's not good.
Oh, I don't need this. I'm already late.
Somebody will come. Anybody out there?
Do you have a phone?
No. Sorry. Somebody! Hello? There are two people stuck on an escalator and we need help. Now, would somebody please do something?
Help! Help! Help!
I don't believe this. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm gonna cry.
Well, there's not enough left to do. That's it.
Hello? Hey, don't worry about it. I'll fix it in a second.
He said he can fix it. All right. All right. That's more like it. He says he can fix it.
Walking down the sidewalk, kicking my feet as I'm moving to the music. Step to the beat. I woke up today, canceled all my plans, and I stepped right outside with my guitar in my hands, and the notes became loud as the sound caressed the air, and I kicked it up a notch as I strolled without a care, 'cause I'm going down the road to a brand new place, and I'll get there with a smile.
Okay. So after sharing that video, I want you to think about this. Think about the efforts that you are actively engaged in. Are you moving forward, or are you just, the meetings are happening, programs are running, reports are filed, but the fundamental challenge of developing that talent for the employers, where are the results? Do you have measurable results to show that you are moving forward on this? So the escalator is representing the traditional workforce approaches that we've been using in the past that move people through the system, but we have to ask whether the system in itself is aligned to our employer needs. So the message is quite simple with this. Step off the escalator. Let's start taking a different path and creating the programs and resources that's going to meet those employers' needs. At this time, I'd like to turn the program over to Cindy.
Thank you, Kim. Hello, all. So this slide names the 3 core problems that sector partnerships are designed to solve. The first, talent shortages persist across industries. Despite years of workforce investment, employers, I should say, are still struggling to find those qualified candidates. And it's not due to a lack of effort, it's a lack of alignment. Training often is misaligned with employer needs. What that means is that training programs may be well-intentioned, but if they're not built around what the employers are looking for, it actually ends up having graduates that have credentials that don't meet the job requirements. And third, employers aren't sure where to begin. Many employers do want to engage with workforce systems, but they find it confusing, fragmented, or time-consuming. They just don't know who to call or what to ask for. So I ask you, does this resonate with any of you in your areas? I'm seeing one or two nods. Okay, all right. So our bottom line is that we need to stop writing and start leading, and that means putting the employers in the driver's seat. So what that looks like is that when we build a bridge between workforce and industry, then we have what's called a sector partnership. And let's talk about what that looks like. Sector partnerships are where employers don't just participate, they drive, they lead. They define demand, validate skills, and shape training priorities. That leadership ensures that the bridge is built to serve real jobs, not just assumptions. How the bridge works is in a sector partnership, you're aligning multiple employers around a shared need. Then coordinate training providers to respond to those needs, and that streamlines the path from the classroom to hire. Siloed efforts, where you have each organization working independently, can create duplication, confusion, and gaps. And so with sector partnerships, it replaces those silos with a shared ownership and coordinated action. TPM provides that structure and tool to build and maintain those bridges. With demand planning, back mapping, and co-creation, those are the building blocks. And the result is a system that moves talent efficiently from toward the employer's value. So when the bridge is strong, you have employers that get job-ready talent, training providers that deliver relevant programs, and individual access to real career opportunities. Let's look at what this bridge has already produced in Illinois. And Pat is going to take it from here.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Cindy. Well, let's see what we got here. I've been given the privilege to talk about the numbers, the outcomes, and the impacts and results from what we've been doing here in Illinois. And I will say this, I'm going to go off script for just a second. Some of our champions that work within this system under the auspice of apprenticeships are in the room. I would say Grace from Calumet area. I see Deb Lawrence in the room, and she has done some amazing work with us. Our help with some of the TPM fellows who are in that area, and Victor, we're doing some great work. So they gave me the privilege to talk about that, so I'm going to go back into my script now. So we have, from these numbers, you can see 62 active apprentices. That's a pretty huge number for, say, be proud of that. Let's just go ahead and give a clap for that. 62 apprentices, what are we going to talk about? And those are the connections between community, educational partners, increasing pathways. We're talking about credit and non-credit programs, and awareness of talent all over the place. So the next thing I think the key takeaways would be, there's no single organization doing this alone. We all step in and assist and help with this. So shared ownership brings to us across employers, across education, across workforce partners. This is how this takes place. This is how it happens. No one organization can take on this. It's a big bite, so we're looking to do that. Just think about it. Think about this. What areas would these results be most effective in where you are, in your local area? Some of these things is just outlining manufacturing, but yours may be TDL within your area. It could be healthcare. So start to think about that. I wanted to be a little bit thought-provoking. Let's move forward. Oops, all right. Who are some of those key partners in your area? You know most of these, but let's say there could be a couple you're not really sure about. You want to not exclude anyone. These are the highlighted partners. You may find others. Here you see that we have the selected employers. Employers you're already working with. Employers that you've done some work with, whether it's OJT, you've assisted them with hiring, you've assisted them with business service tools that we can provide. But these are all the partners you need to bring together to make this successful. So on this list, I would say you're in the center, and then here's all your key partners around this list. There's others. Think about your chambers. Think about others that you are already working with. This is how you bring this to life. It doesn't just happen. You know, if we're meeting with employers and we're giving them services and they're going away and they come back and it's a one-off, that's not going to happen anymore. We're going to make it more transitional, not just being transactional. So we're looking to do that. So take a look at these and see who else in your area. You see unions, that could be non-unions, unions and non-union, whether they're union or non-union would be great. Also, I just want to leave you with another little thought before I transition over. This is something that you can do with our assistance. As she did say, you have partners in the region, reach out to us, we'd be happy to assist. I'm going to move this over now to Tanya to tell you more.
Thank you very much, Pat. Thanks, everyone. Does this resonate with you all? Does it? Because what I found in terms of using the TPM strategy, it really makes our work much easier. Much easier. Many of us have been in the same positions and still working in the positions that you all are. So this process helps. So what my part is scheduling those meetings. The first meeting, once we're setting up an employer collaborative, the purpose will be to set the stage. We're being honest about creating a location. We don't want to speak workforce language. What our aim is to meet the employers where they are. So some simple steps that we have is the first meeting should set the tone for the partnership, as I mentioned before. We want to choose a neutral location or a virtual meeting. Many of our workforce practitioners will say, well, we want our employer partners to come over between 9 and 10. That's not what we want to do. We want, as a convener, we want to work in a neutral location, what's amenable for the employer. We do not want to add more burdens to their daily lives because we want them to assist us as we move forward. You want to include a TPM fellow, someone such as ourselves. We have one of us in every state. Reach out to us, use us as a resource. We can bring in that information and help you formulate that information in terms of providing upfront information, in terms of our videos. There's a lot of information with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation. Those are business associations that provide more employer champion or more marketability to our work. Those are some of the things that we want you to think about. We want to send an invitation to them. We want to ask the employer why we are meeting. What's the purpose? We want to address what their pain points are and what their hiring needs are. We don't want, as my colleagues mentioned, we don't want to add duplication with all of us running to them at the same time from one job order. We want to be strategic. What we refer to ourselves as workforce strategists, and we architect the design. Every employer, every position, every region will be different. That's what we want to bring in. So we're building in trust and collaboration with our employer partners. We want to indicate why, and again, I'm going to always say why we're asking this. We also want to use our resources. When we're making a recommendation for the ask, we're inviting them. For instance, we're inviting you to a small group of we are inviting a small group of employers to help shape a solution for shared workforce challenges. We're letting the employer know upfront what's in it for them, and then they will begin to speak. And if it's in a comfortable time, they will immediately work with us over a period of time. Also, what we want to do is keep those meetings to 90 minutes. We don't want to say that the meeting is going to start at 9 and we get there at 10. We don't want to say that the meeting's starting at 9 and it ends at 10 and then we drag it on to 12. That isn't anything how we want to work with our employer partners. When we close our meetings, we want to have when we close that meeting, we want to be strategic in terms of what are the next steps, why we're here, what we're going to accomplish, what are our pain. We're not going to address everything. We're going to only address those major things that our employers are issuing or what they would like to talk about in this meeting. So we want to be strategic, we want to be upfront, we want to be short, and we also want to be follow up in terms of everything that we want to do with our employers. So next, as we transition, oh, the big button. Okay, here we go. Then after we set up the meeting, here we are as a follow-up. A week prior to the meetings, we want to send a reminder to our invitees, which are our employers. We want to include our TPM partnership, our sector partnership handouts with a reminder so that we can go over what we had discussed in our last meeting. So we're just basically following a project plan from what our last steps were and what we're moving on to the next one. Then we want to review in that next meeting our final presentation. So we're not just showing up. We want to make sure that everything is updated. We have everything that's already set. We want to also develop a list of responses to those questions. So we don't want to have employers coming back to us with unanswered questions because we know what's going to happen. Though if we're not answering the questions, then the employers will move on. While we're having our meetings, we want to ask for the commitment while the employers are there. Get their commitment. We're not expecting for every employer to work with us, but we are going to work with those employers who are working with us because then we're moving so that we could address their pain points. Then at the end, we want to follow up with a thank you and outline in the email in terms of our next steps and our next meeting location. So we want to keep it tight and we want to keep it succinct and we want to keep it moving forward. And I'm going to pass it back over to Kim. Thank you.
So we've given you a little bit of the pre-work that goes in developing a collaborative. At this time, though, what I'd like to do is really start to dive into it and let you talk to the team that's actually doing the work in the field. So we're going to have the Effingham team come up. And we're talking a lot of ideas and documents and so forth. But I want to let you all know at the end of this presentation, there's a QR code, and you will be able to download a TPM toolkit with all the invite letters, the follow-up letters, the demand planning survey. We are going to give that to you so you can take it home, use it, and then explore it. So, Cindy, take it away.
All right. So looking up here, what do you see? Are you seeing one person standing up and saying, hey, this is what we're going to do? Or are you seeing everyone around a table with a plan and they're all having input? That's what we want this to be. We are going to focus on moving things from participation, just simply participating, to having ownership. So traditional workforce engagement asks employers to participate, attend meetings, review a curriculum, hire a graduate. But this is not enough. A true sector partnership requires ownership. Employers define the demand, they validate the skills, and they co-create solutions. Ownership means employers have skin in the game and they can see the return on investment of their time. Think about your current employer relationships. Are they in the participating stage? Or do they feel ownership? What would need to change to move from participating to ownership? This shift is not going to happen overnight. It's a process. It requires trust building, consistent follow-through, and demonstrating value at every step. This process helps business service teams work easier when engaging collectively rather than going and meeting everyone one-on-one. I also think it helps the employer narrow down what their training needs actually are. And we're working smarter and not harder. So who can make this shift happen? Your business service team. So we're going to have Dawn come up and talk about what the business service team role is.
Thank you, Cindy. This slide demonstrates the critical role that the business service teams play. Effective employer engagement happens with intentional collaboration, connecting employers with partners. This work requires a specialized skill set of interpreting employer language to facilitate meaningful conversations, building trust, extract critical information, and develop achievable outcomes. TPM gives facilitators a structured methodology to elevate their employer engagement from transactional to strategic. This program gives you the tools and framework to do it more effectively. One of those tools that supports this is demand planning.
So good morning. Demand planning, I really enjoy this process. It deals with a lot of data. I'm a little bit of a data geek myself. Just a quick show of hands, who here enjoys working with data or works with it on a daily basis? I'm assuming everybody online raised their hand. If you didn't raise your hand, you probably hate data. No, it's a tremendous tool. It gives us a lot of good information to be able to be educated in the decisions that we're trying to make. So for demand planning, it starts with employers identifying their needs. And remember, we're here to listen. And this is employer-led, and most certainly we don't want to tell them what they need. We want them to tell us what their needs are, and that helps provide us with information, with that data, if you will, to assist with training and talent solutions. And it's based off of real-time data, so that's the key here. You're definitely getting that boots to the ground information straight from the employer on what their exact needs are, looking at short-term forecasts. Strategic talent demand planning helps organizations anticipate their workforce needs. It helps align hiring with production goals and allows them the opportunity to start developing or build upon those pipelines for those critical roles. And you might ask, what is demand planning? Well, it is a structured process. We used a survey. You've got a copy of that survey within the toolkit, I believe. A little bit of it up to the top of it. Definitely running through what are we doing, trying to identify industry trends, trying to look at workforce demand, and really give them a lot to think of and kind of position them to be able to prepare to fill out the survey. On the right side, you can see what the results are, really diving into what they're telling us. But it's most certainly a structured process. Use a survey, allows employers to articulate not just what their current needs are, but what that projected hiring need is as well. So that's very important there. We're really looking at three key components here within this data. One, volume or quantity. What's the number of jobs that are needed? Looking at location, so where are these jobs needed? And then looking at the timing, when are these jobs needed? And very crucial, and everything stacks together to come out to be able to provide information, to be able to work for resource partners from the collaborative as a whole, and having a stronger numbers together, if you will, of what we're pushing for and really looking at the demand in a specific area or specific region. And just really dealing with those short-term forecasts. So I identified that this was a survey. What we did was looked at over an 18-month period, and you can kind of see up there May 15th to the end of the year, the following year, so a little more than 18 months. But what we intend to do is to update that on an annual basis. So you're constantly working with new numbers on an annual basis, but looking at that 18-month forecast. And that's where it's really strong with that short-term forecasting. By all means, there is data available, federal data, state data, so IDS, Department of Labor, the Federal Bureau of Labor. A lot of valuable information, definitely ties into the whole process as well. But a lot of times that's looking backwards. That data, it does take time to assemble, for them to be able to put that out, and it's aggregated more in larger regions. This is the opportunity to utilize short-term forecasts directly from a sample of the population of the employers that's within that region for a specific industry. In that real-time, short-term forecast enables the short-term and actionable workforce development initiatives. Skill alignment, Mike.
Thanks. Good morning. It's a revolving door up here. So after you do the demand planning, and really that's getting the data right. Oftentimes the employers may have a very strong understanding of what's going on and what their needs are. Sometimes they think they know, but when they dig into the data, things elevate that they didn't even realize themselves. So it's so important to go through that process so that the companies that are involved and those of us working the TPM side can make better informed decisions in moving forward. So I want to ask you, think about how decisions are made on what training opportunities are available in your local workforce areas, in your regions. How did what is available get there? Why is it there? Oftentimes, it's not based on what companies actually need. It's because that's what we've always done, or this is the next best new thing from the feds or from the state, and we're doing this because we said that this is important now. Okay, it has its place, but it works better if it's tied to what companies actually need. And there's a way to make all that work together, and it starts with aligning what the companies need with these program activities. Okay, so what we ask the companies down there to do, and what we do in this process everywhere, is have the companies look at what are your critical positions and what are the core competencies and credentials related to those positions. Don't get tied up in job titles, because every company calls the same thing something different, right? But competencies and credentials are where you start to talk the same language, and it starts to mean something no matter what you call the job, okay? Okay. We also had them look at what is the supply, just a basic supply demand analysis. The great thing about federal data is that it's very robust. The bad thing about federal data is the newest, most fresh data is 18 months old, and mostly it's 2 or 3 years old, right? Okay. By engaging in this process with the companies directly, we get the freshest data that is possible. Okay, so we look at what the companies need, what their demand is, as Courtney alluded to, but we also look at what is the supply. What are the training providers in the area? And by that I mean the K through 12 system, the community colleges, the universities, other training providers. What's the pipeline look like? What's coming through? How many? What is their capacity? Okay, once we start to look at this holistically, then we can identify, okay, where are the companies' needs being met? And where are their gaps? And when the gaps are identified, then the group collectively works together to address those. And that brings added value to everybody. The companies get a better trained workforce, a more robust pipeline. The schools and the training providers get better placement opportunities for their students and clients, right? So everybody wins, and it's set up so that everybody comes through with improved outcomes. Okay, and part of that process is back mapping. Okay, so at its core, talent pipeline management is applying supply chain management principles to getting talent. Every company knows its supply chain. They know where they source the best widgets from, where they come from, how reliable they are, what the quality of those are. So why not do that for talent? Okay, so the back mapping piece of this is looking at where do the best candidates come from? Where do candidates come from, the job candidates come from, and which programs are graduating folks with the right skills? And then by looking at that, we can say, okay, this network is best aligned with what the companies need. And if any providers are not providing that, then that's an opportunity to work with those providers to bring them up to the level so that when someone graduates from that program, that the companies know this person meets our requirements and is likely to succeed. Okay. With that, I'll turn it back to Courtney.
And moving on to value stream mapping. Now, value stream mapping is a fun process. You get to really visualize what that back mapping data looks like. And one of the things that I really like about TPM, it takes best practices from other things. So TPM really takes best practices from inventory management, if you will, supply chain management, applies it to workforce development, value stream mapping. If you've worked in a manufacturing process or industry previously, you may have worked with value stream for what that manufacturing hub or that sector may be, and the touch points, and trying to be more efficient with the processes and moving product through their operations. Value stream mapping for TPM does the same thing. It shows that full journey of where talent enters the system and to the point to where they become a value add for that employer. It shows where talent or employees, if you will, have acquired their skills. And it really looks at the stacking of skills from the various various items of where they've been, either from a training provider, or from education, or from another employer, and how they're moving into that process, running through those various tiers, and really being prepared for the workforce. What's a great thing for this as well is it enables us to see where there are delays or bottlenecks, which are quite important. Most certainly, when you're running through this process, you want to ask yourself the question, does this step move talent closer to being job ready? And we'll come back to that here in just a second, but most certainly want to keep that in the back of your mind when you're moving through the value stream mapping process. And as we explain this here, one great thing about this and great thing about TPM, I noted earlier and several other people have as well, is that it's employer-led. And we're here to listen. And what separates value stream mapping from other mapping processes that you might be familiar with is that the employer has that input of what that value add looks on the back side of it. So as you can see, little box off to the side, whether that individual's coming in, apprenticeships, job shadowing, coming into that full productivity from the onboarding process with the employer, and then touches into how they're retaining them and that continual growth for that employee, getting into those critical demand positions. So very important there, but most certainly looking at this, kind of think of it from a backwards standpoint of where those bottlenecks are and where does that talent get stuck? And that's very important there. And also look at to where are we working in silos? And that's provides the opportunity to start collaborating together, collaborating with your employers, collaborating with the resource partners, bridging that gap, if you will, encouraging that communication to be able to help streamline these processes and ensure that there's a faster track or a path, if you will, from talent to impact. And Dawn.
Thank you, Courtney. What is my return on investment, ROI? For employees, it's a clear pathway leading to a better job. For the training provider, it means higher placement rates due to the alignment with employer demands. And for the employers, it means a reduced onboarding and higher retention rates. So shared return on investment drives shared success. When everyone sees a return, the partnerships are sustained by the collective benefits. In the following slide, let's discuss the next steps. Cindy?
Hi, it's me again. So everything that we've discussed only works if we put it into action, if we move from conversation to action. This is where we stop planning and start building together. So just by a show of hands, can we see who all has been through the TPM Academy? Okay, so just a few. So I'm going to add to my script here. So for everyone else, your first step is going to be going to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce website to learn more about TPM and the Academy so that you can bring this to your area. Otherwise, your steps, for those of you who have already gone through, become familiar with your sector partnership tools that will be in the TPM toolkit that Kim's going to show you. The resources that we've discussed already are designed to reduce your preparation time. So review them before you start your employer outreach. Second, identify 10 to 15 sector employers in your region and invite them to an introductory meeting. Use the partner identification framework from earlier and focus on employers with shared pain points in the same sector. And step 3, commit to an employee-led sector, a sector collaborative identified in your regional plan. For those of you who have had to work on your regional plan, you know that we have had to put in what our employer collaboratives are. So it's not really optional, it is in the plan. So we need to move forward with that. And remember, ask a TPM fellow to assist. You don't have to do this alone. And I would add, build a team. You don't even have to facilitate alone. hopefully you're all lucky enough to have a Courtney Yockey in your area, who is an awesome facilitator. Or I know IDES has facilitators as well. There's probably someone in your local area that you can partner with and do this work together. And I'm going to add, I know it's intimidating. 6 months into my position, I'd never had workforce experience. I'm getting thrown into TPM and I'm like, what is this? And then before I know it, Kim says, hey, you're gonna go and be part of this collaborative. I'm like, what? But I tell you what, it has helped clarify. And when you see the process happening and you see the employers taking ownership, they've even decided, hey, we want our own brand now. So we are going through a branding process. And we've had, they're like, oh, we want this information. And they developed a survey on their own, the employers did, so that they can make sure that they're getting the curriculum that they need aligned with the machines that they actually have. So it really does work. I was a skeptic, but now I'm a believer. So why should we act now? Hiring challenges, they're not going away on their own. We all know that. Employers are already investing time and resources. So this will help reduce duplication, because they're all working on it individually, and increase results. And the sooner employers define demand, the sooner partners can align effectively. This is not going to be another committee or ongoing meeting series. It is not about adding to work. It is about working smarter and together. So, are you ready to take the next step? Before we let you loose and have you do that, we're going to make sure you have all the tools and resources that you need to do so. So, here is Kim.
Thanks, Cindy. So you've heard from TPM fellows, you've heard from the practitioners, who are in the field doing this work. And as I said, let's work a little smarter and not so much hard by ourselves with it, because we have a team. And I do want to share that we have a standing monthly meeting, or a weekly meeting on Mondays. We're on the call for an hour. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Where are we? And everything, and we're ready to go. What we do find with the employers, when they started engaging in this process, they were, okay, why are we here? What are we going to do? And it's like Cindy said, they got a marketing firm. They're branding themselves now, and they want to know what's going on with their competitors. Now, one thing that we did not mention, and I think it's important that we bring up just very quickly, is the confidentiality factor. Because those employers are sharing very confidential data with us, and it includes their hiring needs. Sometimes it could be proprietary information in their hiring processes and so forth. That's why we have those neutral conveners that are doing that. And that is someone who has been trained in TPM. When Courtney and I did the survey, we collected the data and so forth. If Julio Rodriguez walked in and says, Kim, can I see that data? And I'm like, sorry. Sorry, Julio, I can't share the data with you. I am Switzerland. I'm the Bank of Switzerland, and that data stays with me. And that's what I've been promised to those employers as well. So confidentiality is handled even when we're doing the credentialing, the competency process. With it, every poll that we take with the employers, it is handled like it was the Bank of Switzerland, and that information stays with the people who are collecting the data. So I've given you a QR code, and that I encourage all of you to get a copy of this QR code, take a picture of it with your phone. This is going to be a living, breathing document. It is going to be eventually put on a TPM website, on the DCO website. We're going to create one very specifically for TPM. But the items that we've included in here is a copy of the employer invitation to participate in a TPM sector. Take that template, download it. It's a Word document. Customize it to whatever you need to identify those people that you're coming. But you also, the state has also provided other tools for you that are not included in this. By using the EBS system that you may have access to, you can identify the employers within zip code, region, county, however you want to set your collaborative up and figure out who to invite. But make sure that it is a very diverse group. It is the mom and pops, it's the mid-size, and it's the large businesses as well. We created a sector partnership introduction slide deck. This is the one that Effingham put together. It's set up for manufacturing. Change the graphics on it. Change it so it meets whatever you're doing, healthcare, hospitality, IT, whatever it is, quantum, whatever your thing is, just adjust it, and there's your slide deck. And then it tells you what you're going to talk about every time and what the ask is at the end. There's an example of an elevator pitch. You know, if you're talking to somebody and you walk up on the street and saying, hey, we're developing this sector partnership, I'd like to, what are you going to say? Are you going to give them a 30-minute spiel? They're going to lose, you're going to lose them and they say no. But there's an example on how for you to create a quick elevator pitch, no more than 2 minutes, to kind of share what you're trying to do in your collaborative. We've also provided some resources from the U.S. Chamber. There's a TPM flyer. The TPM flyer gives you an overview of the 6 key strategies that will occur in a sector partnership. We also put links in another Word document I went through. You can do this yourself, but on YouTube, the U.S. Chamber has many videos on sector partnerships and actions. There's a few animated ones. We embedded those into our slide deck so we can say, here's what we're going to do today in orientation. Here's what we're going to do in TPM strategy. Quick little snippets to engage the individuals. Then we put an example of the demand planning survey. The demand planning survey, we used SurveyMonkey. You can download it. You can put it in Google Forms or whatever survey platform that you use. But this one is very specific for manufacturing. And really what we were doing is you can just pull it up, change it, add your healthcare positions and so forth, and then set it on. But don't just stop at looking at the demand planning. This is an opportunity that when we share it with the employers prior to releasing them in the group, we'll say, what other questions do you want to know? And there's questions that we wanted to know. For example, what % of your population can retire within the next 2 to 3 years? Sometimes employers don't think about it, and then all of a sudden they have a tsunami of retirees coming in their office. We ask them the questions that pertain to WIOA programs. Are you familiar with incumbent worker training? Are you familiar with apprenticeships? Do you offer apprenticeships? What age, what positions? Are they job shadowing? Are they internships? Because everybody calls them a little bit differently, especially on the age group that you're working with. So we find that information. And then we plan in that, where do you find your talent? Do you put all your eggs in one basket? Or are you diversifying it with other resources? How do you market those positions? And then we collect all that information. Courtney and I collected it, we created it, and we present all the data back in only an aggregate format, okay? The raw data stays in the Switzerland bank, okay? And then we put the forms that Mike shared with you, the competency tracking template when we were working with the employers to identify the specific competencies that they wanted for assemblers, machine operators, and maintenance tech. And we asked them, are these required or preferred? You know, and so we kind of tracked that down so we could streamline and share that information with our training providers. We also did the back mapping template, and that is, where are you finding your talent? You know, did you find them? Did you kind of take them from your competitor across the street? You know, and if you found them from there, what programs did they go through? So we can start to build that talent flow back mapping process. We also put in a copy of the value stream mapping. And what Courtney was showing was all the programs that we identified from that high school level all the way up to onboarding and retention with it. And then there's so much more, but you know, you can only put so much on the value stream. But the employers are aware of them. I did want to share when Courtney was talking about that, when we went through the high school course catalogs and we met with the superintendents, we had quite a few aha moments, and the employers going, I never knew that. For example, I think it was T-Town that actually has a CDL training program for high school students. And the employers are going, what? You know, and you think about the rural school districts, many of those the students are growing up on farms, are already helping out, you know, with that type of thing. But they're doing the classroom stuff, and when they're 18, of course, then they can get their CDL. And employers were looking at that and saying, but they can't drive. And we go, yes, they can in the state of Illinois, but they just can't cross over other state lines with it. But it's a way to grab that talent now before we lose them later on. And we had a couple of employers says, I go to this high school every year and I do my hiring for my assemblers because they have some of the best training programs. They have a manufacturing 101 program. They have the OSHA 10 program and so forth. So I know these young students who are getting ready to graduate from high school and they do not want to go to college at this time. They're going to walk into employment. Okay, and so then from there, if that student wants to get that post-secondary credential and so forth, guess who's going to pay for it? The employer, with it, because it's part of their benefits. And then we just want some ready response or some common FAQs that employers are going to ask, and you can use that to build your your elevator pitch with it and so forth. So those are those questions with it. This is going to change. I've already got 4 more documents I need to upload to it. They're coming from, to find, how do you find that North Star? And our North Star for Effingham is retention. That was their number 1 pain point. How do we increase retention? And so everything that we do, how's that going to impact retention? What are we going to do for retention? And yesterday, every one of these individuals up here, we did a pre-conference workshop on job quality. How do you talk about job quality using the talent pipeline strategies? And how do you engage that conversation with employers with it? So when we go back to the Effingham manufacturers, when we get to the point of developing what are our KPIs and what are we going to use to measure our success of this collaborative, we need to ask that question. What is happening internally with your team that you're having a high turnover rate? Is it salary? Is it benefits? Is it the environment? And we start to use building those job quality perspectives and so forth with this. I want to close with a story before we show you the last slide or two. I have been engaged in talent pipeline since the beginning, since 2014. And I have seen this happen all across the United States. All but 4 states are using TPM at some point. The state of Illinois is leading a charge to integrate it into the workforce system, but in partnerships with people like Courtney and EDCs and chambers of commerce. The Illinois State Chamber of Commerce is also engaging in this process as well. So having traveled throughout Illinois, across the United States, and even into Canada recently, where we just had our first TPM International Academy, this works. Instead of waiting and everybody going out and knocking on a door one-on-one, having those one-on-one, think about how much time you can save if you just invite them to a meeting and you start sharing it in a collaborative effort. And you have a fantastic team like this, you don't have to go home stressing. Oh my gosh, I got so much work, I'm never gonna get this done, because each one of us plays a key role in that. And we're here to help you moving forward in this next year. I know, I'll speak for Mike and I a little bit, we'll probably be out on the road quite a bit. If anybody calls us and says we would like for you to come talk to us about developing a sector partnership and what are our steps, we are going to do that for you. And I sit in every one of the Effingham meetings. They run it. I'm just there to help facilitate or answer any questions that they have. So the challenge that we've just given you is, yes, it's in the state plan. Yes, the governor wants to see sector partnerships. DOL is pushing for sector partnerships and moving forward. DCEO has made a significant investment in training people. So far, we have 90 TPM practitioners across Illinois in a lot of different divisions, or chambers and EDCs and workforce development professionals. So don't be afraid to reach out to any one of us. You'll have our bios and stuff in the Whova app, and we'll be happy to come meet you and hold your hand and help get you through that process. So in closing, remember, when we are forward motion isn't real progress. The thing is we need to stop riding that escalator, and we need to start leading those employers because they're asking for it. Every day, we need help, we need solutions, and they don't know where to get started, and you all can do it. Thank you. Do we have time for a few questions? Wow, we did fantastic, guys. We were really worried about that. So we have a few minutes. Does anybody have any questions on TPM? Yes.
Hello there. Thank you so much for your presentation. I definitely appreciate you sharing this and taking the time to share. Is this better?
Yes.
All right. Well, I want to start off by saying thank you so much for your presentation and sharing this information with us. So for me, it sounds like a lot of the initiative here is to create what I'll call subject matter experts in creating these talent pipelines. Am I correct? That you'll be able to go in, facilitate, coordinate, and then start developing, which sounds fantastic. But I'd like to learn more now that it sounds like this process is being implemented. I think you mentioned 96 was the number, or what was the number you gave that?
We have over 90 TPM.
90 TPMs, right? So now you have what I would call a battalion of individuals that are out there doing this kind of work. How is the integration occurring? Because it was mentioned a little second ago that this is really where you want to incorporate your business services into. So if you have these 96 individuals are spread across the state, they're creating and cultivating these collectives and relationships, how is the local network, how is it being funneled down to be able to say, hey, I was able to get the buy-in from this particular employer of this particular industry and this particular need, but because of capacity, this needs to be handed off. So how is that handing off process happening so that the local level business services are now able to engage with this employer who, through your data collection, as you mentioned, are obtaining information such as a need of hire, when their hiring rates are going, or be able to give out this information that they can actually implement and work with that employer so they can start receiving the services that they're looking for?
Sure. Excellent question. So DCEO has held 3 TPM academies. The first one was the training providers to let them know what we were doing, and keeping them up to date on everything. The other 2 academies that we have hosted was for business service team specialists and apprenticeship specialists, so they know how to integrate all of this together. Some of those individuals, even though we've trained them, they haven't taken that next step for whatever reason. In some cases, some people are saying to DCO, we need more money, we need this. And my question back to everyone is, you already have the people there, and this is just helping them work smarter and not harder in the process, okay? So I'm sure, I can't speak for DCEO, but there have been discussions of having more TPM trainings with it. They're also encourage individuals who applied under their apprenticeship expansion grant that they put money in there to fund their individuals going through a TPM Academy. It's a 12 weeks course with it. Individuals can also take it by themselves. I would not recommend that. I would recommend going through a blended learning or a co-op learning process with it. But this is where we're at now. We just did a big survey in December, and we got a lot of feedback. And so we know where there are regions in Illinois where there is no activity. And that's when Mike and I are going to be reaching out to everyone, setting up those meetings and saying, may we come in and talk to you about this? May we come in and train? It's great that you have the training in TPM, but there's enough of us that we can do kind of the train the trainer in that process with you and hold your hands with it. And then, like I said, I go to every one of their meetings. I'm just really sitting there helping guide the process if needed. With it. But yes, we are at the point in Illinois where I can tell you DCO is going to be looking at this very carefully. How many sector partnerships are you engaged? I know the IWIB is looking at this as well. Who are the sector partnerships? Are looking for champions and great examples because of the investment that we've made. So yes, it's been up here for a while. It's now down to push it down to the ends, and that's our goal. Did I answer your question? Okay.
We've got time.
Yeah.
I was going to say we got time for one more.
So I'm super excited about the work that you all are doing. It's definitely needed, and I'm thinking about the presenter's, Beal's presentation where he talked about the underrepresentation of women in apprenticeships and so on. And I was thinking about the value mapping strategy that you're using and the employer's interest in improving their retention numbers. And so as you're asking questions about the retention, it'd be also good to ask about who is retention impacting. So, what processes, but what people as well, and do some backward mapping and value mapping based on that. So that, certain players, especially in regard to support services, may also need to be somewhere on the value map.
Absolutely. I can give you a quick example of how one particular group did this. In the state of Michigan, they had a severe shortage of tree trimmers and electricians. And so all the electrical co-ops in the state of Illinois they kind of formed their own coalition, and so they said, we're going to address this. And how they first started was very interesting. The reason why they had such a high turnover rate, I don't know if you all, but there's no way I could climb a tree and cut branches, and there's no way I'm calling up a telephone pole. That's just not going to happen. But what they were hiring was individuals who did not have that strong center core physique that you needed to shimmy up and shimmy down and so forth. But what they ended up doing, and this is kind of a funny story, because they went to the state warden and said, we want to create an apprenticeship training program in-house for individuals who are within 6 to 9 months of being released. Now here's the funny part. She says, I want to bring in chainsaws. I want to bring in electrical equipment. I want to put poles in your yard and let them climb up it and so forth. And I thought this warden was, you're out of your mind. But he said, but they said, for this apprenticeship, we're going to pay them union wages. And so when these individuals are re-enter, they're going to have enough to buy the car, get the down payment for their apartment, whatever they need, and then they're going to finish the rest of their apprenticeship in the field. Once they were done, those co-ops said, we will train them from the tree trimmers, and we will put in an electricians union. Think about that. The need for electricians right now. So they got it, they started having a shortage, but what they realized that they did not have a diverse workforce. And they said, we have 10, 20 women in the entire state that are electricians. How do we diversify this more? So they did a big study on it and everything. And they realized, I think electricians, it's an automatic of, it's more of a male dominant role and so forth. So they started looking at women and did a huge study on it, and they increased it and they diversified it quite significantly. The thing is there is not a shortage in Michigan right now, for this. So they solved a huge problem with it. And so in TPM, we have extra modules that we go through as well. Yesterday, we just did job quality. It was the first ever job quality workshop under TPM. We've got one on opportunity populations. We have one on integrating CTE into the credentials so that the students can earn it in high school. And then we've got one, I think, coming up on apprenticeships as well. So yes, TPM isn't just like a one and done model. We keep diversifying it with extra modules and everything, and we always integrate that into the discussion. So we're even looking at individuals who may have some form of physical, emotional, or mental disability or learning disability, and we're tying that in there as well. Okay. Well, are we out of time? We're out of time. I want to thank you all very much. We're here all day, so feel free to reach out to any of us. Thank you.